Well, I was helping. I was Shanghai.
Okay, so I'm just gonna put has a pop-up on it.
Yeah.
And
It says
then
weird pop-up blocking screen. Please have work study 2. Make sure you put the room number on.
yep, I have that. Oh, might help if I put the correct room number.
And the building.
In the subject, I put PH 350, but in my text of my paragraph, it said 360.
Yeah, that would confuse us.
That's why I said, I don't know that I'm going to be
This sounds bossy, this email, but I'm just doing it real quick.
where we have the advantage from that station, not in, I get the real world point of view of the front line. Hopefully that That's right. Oh, no question. And in today's times, whenever, right? Look, what I did is
Justin.
2 years ago
Jay.
You try to make it come back right.
But they have such
Well, it's my fault, Justin. It's my fault.
We had to use Carissa's laptop. Unfortunately, Bill, PhD writing, son and son, and I also switched it to. So we had to use the old one to split it. The mean ladies up front said we're getting great outcomes. Are you ignoring me?
I wasn't even.
Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
yes, I
I
was.
recognize you.
I had selective hearing for
I
a
told you,
moment.
be careful, mean ladies says we're getting great outcomes.
Yes. And it will be 95% of your upcoming employment level.
Yeah, I told her I'm retired.
where I'm coming from, we are Interstate 4. We are known across the country as there's a low light 4, blue, there's a low light 4, red. And what do you do?
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We are here today to hear about unconscious bias from Mike Aguilera. He is with Sodexo, he's been with them for about 6 years, and he's also been with corporate America for over 20 years. And he has a lengthy history of providing training on these types of topics throughout Kansas and other areas within the United States. And so, as we are getting ready to turn the mic over to him, we have just a couple of shop items that we have to keep track of. One is, we're going to be passing clipboards around. And would you just put your name here, since it would be the other thing that we would ask. Anyway, I would like to provide a warm welcome to Mike Aguilera.
Muchas gracias, Bill. Entonces nosotros vamos a una presentación hoy día en español, ¿está bien? Okay, very good. So I always try to make sure whoever was sleeping, hopefully that woke them up. But at any rate, yeah, so thanks for the introduction. And just to be crystal clear, my role today is actually in district manager for operations across colleges and universities in Kansas. Prior to this, I was in a global role for Sodexo for education, where we go across the country, whether it's for training, strategic sessions, etc. So today, I'm not really good at standing behind the podium if y'all are okay with that. So I'm just going to kind of roam around, keep it exciting. I might go up and down the aisles just to make sure no one's sleeping. So that's definitely not the purpose of this. But at the end of the day, interrupting unconscious bias. Any thoughts on this particular topic? Anyone? And by the way, my style, and this is kind of the first time we're all engaged together. This is not going to be just a PowerPoint presentation. You've got handouts because this is going to be an interactive session, so just FYI. So anybody have any thoughts as to what interrupting unconscious bias is? What's that? Racism. Could be, yeah, could be.
Recognizing privilege.
Recognizing privilege. Yep. No. Anything else? Okay. Don't worry, I'm going to get you talking, so it's all good. All right. So, here we go. So today's session, roughly about 60 minutes, and here are going to be our 3 learning topics. It's going to be about awareness, which you've brought some of this already. It's about really what bias means and how to, get in front of it before it actually occurs. As we all know, and I would very much say, with absolutely not going down the political path, this is a huge topic today. And I don't know that it's getting any better, but I applaud the fact that you guys are all here, because the only way this gets better is we just continuously learn. And then last but not least, what are some of those behaviors? I have miserably failed this session if 2 things don't occur. 1, I don't get you engaged, and 2, you don't come out with tips. If it was just a session, it was a complete waste of time. So I want you to come out of here with some tips and some application. Okay. So I think what's really, really important to understand about this whole topic is you have to understand what stereotypes and what bias is first. Stereotypes are simply images, right? They're not necessarily true, but those are kind of perceptions. When you think about bias, on the other hand, it's about preference. It's about what we feel comfortable with. And I came from the Office of Diversity, kind of gave away my deck of cards at, Hispanic background, but it doesn't matter. We all have biases. And if anyone in this room doesn't think they have a bias, I hate to tell you, everybody does. And you're going to see why, and I'm going to give you some definite pertinent examples as to why. The point of today is, prior to coming to those judgments, it's really understanding why do I think a certain way, or why are, some of the comments that were thrown out there, why do they even exist? But more importantly, how do I handle them moving forward? That's really the key. How do I come out of this room and think twice about what I'm doing that's different versus when I came in? Okay? So as far as the learning objectives are concerned, you've got different videos, which I think you'll find entertaining. We'll have some fun. Believe it or not, this is actually going to be somewhat fun. And then we're going to have a case study. Now, you do have a couple of handouts which I'll be referring to, so don't feel like, they're going to be applied. As far as the case study is concerned, with the amount of people and the time, we'll gauge that, because typically what I'll do is divide up the room and turn over the mic to you guys to kind of provide some insights, because everybody likes to hear themselves. I've been down this road before, for sure. Okay? And then, of course, best practices. So, the one handout that you should see is a big wheel, right? And this is what we affectionately call at Sodexo the diversity wheel. And we have this in just about every single diversity training, because hopefully it resonates. When you look at the core and the primary, the green and yellow, basically those are things that that they can change. That's kind of who you are. It's your gender, your age, your race, etc. When you look at the secondary, those and organizational, those are things that can change. So the point is, the closer you get to the core, that's really that individual's identity. However, on the outside, as you start getting further away from the core, those are things that can change, perhaps, or be learned. And then the last core, or excuse me, the last layer is called the era, right? And the era is, a lot of that has to do with generations. And believe me, when we're on college campus, I think there's nowhere more prevalent than the topic of generations than here, whether it's students, workforce, etc. So this is kind of a guide, and again, all these will kind of marry up. You're probably wondering, what am I going to do with this? Just hang tight. There is reason and rationale to all of this. But before we move forward into kind of the learning section, I'm going to give you a couple of, to kind of open your mind and say, this is the real world, and let's not beat around the bush. And the first video is called Joe versus Jose, and this hopefully will get some juices flowing. Alright, so these will be queued up and hang tight. Alright, that one. Alright, I'm not sure. I thought they were queued up, but maybe not. Alright, so let's go with, there we go. Joe versus Jose.
My name is Jose Zamora, and I had to drop a letter to get retired.
Alright.
Every morning I wake
Hold
up
on,
on
guys.
Craigslist and apply to many jobs. Every job that I feel qualified for. About 50 to 100 a day for months. No phone call.
We actually did test this before, so I know it's going to work. It's just a matter of help, please. Thank you. Don't know why the PowerPoint is showing over the video. So let's try this again one more time. Yeah, don't know why.
Oh, no.
Have you exited out of the PowerPoint?
Now the PowerPoint is the dominant figure here that will not allow the video to play.
We have it on screen, but it's not showing up on there.
Duplicate your screens. Don't use extend.
Alright, so while there's being fixed, let's see. Try to do some improv here. Oh boy. Alright. So before I'll share this video, and this is pure like stand up. Oh, there we go, very good. Thank goodness we can do improv. Alright. Thank you very much. Alright, let's work on this again. Here, my friends, Joe.
My name is Jose Zamora, and I had to drop a letter to get retired. Every morning I wake up, go on Craigslist and apply to many jobs. Every job that I feel qualified for. About 50 to 100 a day for months. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. One day I just thought, what if I tried Joe? Just remove the S in my name and maybe I can make some dollars. The Monday I decided to go from Jose to Joe. 7 days later, the next Monday, that's when all the responses started coming. That's when all the replies and emails. The position is open. We want to meet with you. Call us back. I was applying for the same exact job, the exact same resume, the exact same experience, just a different name. Sometimes I don't even think people know or conscious or aware that they're judging, even if it's by name, but I think we all do it all the time.
So guys, that's definitely reality. And so that's, again, just to give you a little bit of insights as to what's going on in the real world, right? All right, so before I cue this up, who's heard of Alan Alda? Mash, remember that guy, right? Anybody know what Alan Alda's done since?
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Well, he's done some work with trying to spread medicine around the world.
Yeah, very good.
Research.
Yeah, he's been an activist. He's also been a very heavy activist for women's rights as well. along with a very intelligent lady named Dr. Banaji, who came up with this thing called IAT, and it's an IAT test that essentially will really focus on what unconscious bias. Now, mind you, I'm going to show you what this test is all about. She came up with it, and it's basically a 10 to, and we'll give you a shortened version, a 10 to 15 minute test where you see different screens and you make different assumptions about what those images are. Now, mind you, you're dealing with two very open-minded individuals, and listen to the responses. So this is my point, referring to if you think that you do not have bias, check this out.
I've always thought of myself as a feminist, so I'm pretty sure I know how I'll do in this test of my reaction to women in the workplace.
I am ready to begin.
Women, in fact, like Mazarin Banerjee, who's a professor here at Harvard University. The test is called the implicit association test, and it begins simply enough. I have to pair the word in the center with one of the words above by pressing the E key with my left hand or the I key with my right.
Well, I could be either way.
Mazarin has told me to do this as fast as I can because it's the time I take to make the associations that's critical to the test. Now the target words have changed, but the task remains the same: to quickly decide whether the new words belong to the left or the right. But things are about to get trickier.
It's the same thing, except now any one of these four will show up. When it's career or male, you'll press the left key. When it's family or female, you'll press the right key.
Career or male?
Yes.
So now the categories are described by two words, making it harder to decide where the new words belong. But since the association test is designed to ferret out any bias by seeing if it takes me fractionally longer to figure out where a word belongs when the pairing of the target words, in this case family and male together and career and female, is slightly more difficult for my brain to accept.
Corporation, family.
That takes this test shows this bias. What you're seeing is that you're showing a much smaller bias than what many other people show. I'm up here. I make a strong association.
That's not what you live.
And that's not what I live, but in my world. And I don't know. I'd be interested to know. Maybe many years of working in feminist causes made you show this lesson.
So all those years of working in feminist causes didn't manage to totally eliminate my lingering association between female and family, and male and career. What's astonishing, though, is that Mazarin is far worse, and she's not only enjoying a very successful career, she designed the test. Another of its designers is Brian Nozick, who personally developed the test he's taking now, intended to reveal hidden racial prejudice.
Is it the same faces you've seen many times?
Many times. In fact, I don't create the faces. So.
The heart of this test is to see whether it's easier for Brian to match words or pictures to the pairing of African American with bad and European American with good. Then when the pairings are reversed, European Americans with bad and African Americans with good.
I can predict.
Yeah. What do you think?
Moderate. Moderate to strong.
I'll say moderate as well.
Yeah.
Strong preference for white.
You're taking this for the umpteenth time, and you still haven't caught on to the fact that you're a little biased.
I think part of that is the insistence that my conscious beliefs still matter. It isn't that the fact that I keep showing these implicit biases mean that I'm a biased person, so I should just accept that and move on. It's that, no, I don't agree with those. I do have them, and I will admit to having those implicit biases, but I'm not going to let that rule what I would consciously want to have.
It really is remarkable that here I am in Cambridge, Massachusetts, perhaps the liberal capital of the country, with two academics who pride themselves on their enlightened attitudes, only to discover that they have latent within them biases they would fervently deny if their own test hadn't revealed them. But all may not be lost.
We found in research and also in testing of myself that if I put myself in a situation where I think about positive black exemplars, I think about Michael Jordan and Colin Powell and people like Martin Luther King who have had a very positive impact and who are also African American, I show much less bias immediately after thinking about those exemplars than if I hadn't thought about them before.
Even simple things like the presence of an African American experimenter reduces race bias. That the presence of a competent woman makes women's attitudes to math become more positive. Those kinds of studies sit, I think, in contradiction to the ways in which people like I thought about these. We thought they were learned over long periods of time, that they were entrenched, they were rigid, inflexible, and that does not appear to be the case. And I think that that's where the room for optimism is. So on the one hand, I would like people to take these data seriously when we look and when we can show the vast numbers of people who show the bias. I think we need to contend with that. On the other hand, what this work is showing is that it might be not that hard to shape environments that can change these, even automatic kinds of attitudes.
You can find out if you harbor unconscious biases you would deny even to yourself by logging onto the Project Implicit website. There you'll find tests of attitudes towards such things as age and religion, as well as lighter fare like the Harry Potter movies versus the Lord of the Rings. Give it a try. You may be in for a shock.
So there you go. If you don't think you have biases, I'm sorry to let you know you do. Coming straight from someone who does the testing, so it's hopefully pretty revealing. So here comes the interactive portion. All right. Okay. Hopefully. Yeah, please wait. Yep. All right. So, what stood out for anyone in the film clip? Hopefully something. Yes, sir.
I'll be brave and probably suicidal, but that seemed like stunningly bad science to enforce really a false dichotomy. That seemed a gross oversimplification of things, reducing things down into two choices and only two choices, and then funneling basically the reactions of the respondents into good or bad. Once you made the dichotomy of associating everything European white with good and African American with bad, unless I am grossly missing the point, Harvard just suddenly went way down in my estimation.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. So for clarity, and we'll get to this towards the end, the point is, what are our initial reactions to things, right? And the point is to, versus making immediate judgment, we need to think about whether it's the diversity goals and some of the other things that we're going to talk about today. But no, it's a fair point. I mean, the whole idea is what are your immediate reactions without really thinking through it, just to see how you react, and that was really the purpose of the IAT test. And look, I took the test as well, and I consider myself to be very open-minded and quote a minority, and I found biases too.
Can I get out, not to be argumentative?
Yep.
Why wasn't there a third choice that said no reaction?
Great question for Dr. Banaji. So I really couldn't answer that, but I hear you. It's a fair point. And look, the thing that's beautiful about D&I is there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody's perspective is a fair perspective. So very good. Any other reaction from the film club? Okay, let's go to question number 2 then.
Test, and it's like I've actually taken this test online and taken a few of them online, and it's the science isn't quite exact, and even they were surprised by the results that they found. But we are all the products of, and I teach this in my visual communication class, and class, we're all the products of our own collective experiences, and what we've been exposed to, positive experiences, and so that's going to shape who we are as individuals.
Sure.
And studying cognitive science shows us this, but so we all have these, but how we consciously work to survive and live in this community and in the world
so I'm getting the drift, and look, hey, you got to adjust with your audience. So we're not bought into the IT test. That's perfectly fine. We will absolutely gravitate to, no, I got you. No, it's fair feedback. So we will gravitate to some of the other tips and some of the other exercises that perhaps might be more practical. Fair enough? Okay. All right. Okay. We're gonna have a little fun. So we'll take the seriousness off for a second. We'll have a little fun. So, how many circles are on that screen? All right. Okay. That's enough thinking. That's it. I turn it back now. So, how many circles on the screen? If it's 1, 12, raise your hand. 16, raise your hand. 17, raise your hand. Oh man. All right. It's actually 17, guys, because if you notice, it's 4 by 4, and then you got the 1 in the middle, so it's actually 17. So again, first perception. Sorry, guys, we got a 0 on the test. All right.
It looks like that for real.
No, same thing. Same thing. Same thing. Man, I'm not getting many friends today's crowd. Right. Dr. Thompson is going to be like, dude, you're out of here, man. All right. Okay, so it's always fun with D&I. You get interesting reactions. So this one is called monkey illusion. So I don't know if anybody's seen this before, but the idea is to follow the ball. All right? Follow the ball.
The monkey business illusion. Count how many times the players wearing white pass the ball. The correct answer is 16 passes. Did you spot the gorilla? For people who haven't seen or heard about a video like this before, about half missed the gorilla. If you knew about the gorilla, you probably saw it. But did you notice the curtain changing color or the player on the black team leaving the game? Let's rewind and watch it again. Here comes the gorilla, and there goes a player, and the curtain is changing from red to gold. When you're looking for a gorilla, you often miss other unexpected events. And that's the monkey business illusion. Learn more about this illusion and the original gorilla experiment at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
So it's crazy the kind of things we gravitate to, from IT to this, right? So, everyone looks at things through a different lens. But the point, hopefully, from both that has come out, is that there are initial judgments, just like with this test, right? It's not really the contest of how many circles are there as much as what are you really seeing? What are you really interpreting? That's the whole point of unconscious bias. So rather than give you a ton of slides and have you, snoring in the back, hopefully some of this will give you some insights as far as, the way we can look at unconscious bias. So I thought this is a very interesting quote again, different perspective of the same thing. Every man has reminiscences which he would not tell to everyone, but only his friends. He has had other matters in his mind which he would not reveal even to his friends, but only to himself, and that in secret. But there are other things which a man is afraid to tell himself, and every decent man has a number of such things stored away in his mind. So I'm not even going to try to attempt that name because that's a tough name for me to try to repeat, but I thought it was a pretty interesting quote. Okay, so we've had a little fun, giving you different ways of looking at it. Everyone has different perspectives, whether it's effective or not, but hopefully you can get some type of insight of, we're not all seeing the full picture. We're just not, right? We are missing things from time to time, and it's not done. It's not happening because we want it to. It's just Again, it's what unconscious bias is all about. So, job of identifying what it is, right? Unconscious bias. But then comes the scenario of the challenge, of which, you know, we've seen different various phases from Jose to Joe to IET to the, you know, passing the ball, the monkey, etc. So, acting, I'm not reading all that because you guys have got this, this particular business case in front of you. The interesting part here is how we're going to execute this. We've got, oh yeah, we're good on time. So, what we're going to do is the following. I want to give you each a couple minutes to read over this, but then we're going to divide the room by fours, which will be interesting. Maybe we'll just go with, it looks like the majority of people are here, so we'll call this question 1 here on this side. We'll go question 2 and 3 make it a little bit more difficult. Y'all be fine. Question 2 right here, or let's go question 2 from here on up. Question 3 to the back, and everybody on that side is going to be question 4. So, to make this interactive, because I think a lot of times you get tired of hearing my voice and you want to hear what each other have to say, is read the case quickly. I know it's a rather large group, but if you could somehow, someone just volunteer themselves to be the spokesperson, give you about 10 minutes to collaborate on your one specific question. So to be clear, question 1 here, the whole gamut. What did I say? Was this a cutoff? Thank you. Question 2 here, question 3 there, and question 4 over there. And then I'll pass the mic. We'll go over these questions, and I've got some additional insights. Any questions from the group about what we're doing here? Good? All right. Give you a couple minutes, and then let's see. We're at 12:30, so why don't we say 12:45? You've read the case. You've got it with your group. You've appointed a spokesperson, and we'll go from there. Okay. Put more context around this, one probably very important point I did not bring up. You guys, for today, for the next 15 minutes, are officially a school board committee. So I'm sure you probably called it. 3 minutes left. This is your 3-minute warning. So we get wrapped up in 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Thank you very much. If you have not done so, make sure you have your either A, appointed or speaker, or appointed speakers. So if you have not done so, make sure you have your appointed speaker. You got 2. Very good. Very good. That's right. Hey, you know what? In this kind of life, you know what? You're doing this, you never know you're going to encounter that. You just never know. You just roll with the punches, you know? All right, let's give it 30 more seconds, and group one is chomping at the bit, I can tell, to speak up. So get ready, group one. Who is your official spokesperson over here? Oh, all right. Okay, guys. So let's let's give everybody your undivided attention to, and your name, sir?
Ryan.
I'm going to pass the mic over to you. So, all right. So what assumptions have been made by the committee?
Well, we know that you want me to hold this? That there's crowding in the inner city schools. All right. They haven't taken any. We don't have data on the performance of the inner city schools, and so they're thinking, well, we've got to have these new schools because the quality of what's going to happen, or the quality of the scores, are going to be reduced, and that's what they're assuming in these suburban schools, that they're not going to have the 91% in mathematics, or 82% in the other areas. So that's the assumption. The percent of excellence goes down.
Good. Nice. Good job. Thank you. All right. Take care. You can go along with that, please. Yeah, no problem. All right. So, okay. Wow, that's a bit of an eye chart. My apologies. So, yeah, absolutely. So, children are, the assumption could be children who are minorities have the lower performing test scores. Again, these are biases and assumptions only. Assuming they have behavior challenges that will disrupt the environment. And parents probably are working, unlike the current population, where at least one parent stays at home and the other is very involved in school. So those are just some additional commentary. So who is the volunteer for group number 2? Yes, sir.
Well, we started by examining some of the terms that are in here, and the one that stuck out mostly for me was the non-ethnic term, as if white people don't have an ethnicity. It's because this is the unexamined group. So it's a loaded. It's filled with loaded terms like this that set me off, because it's like when people think of inner city schools or urban or sexual orientation, you're always looking at the groups that are under scrutiny rather than the majority groups. So that's, you look at something like Title I. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this as an educator. A 1-year improvement, 82%, 91% for a Title I school, those are amazing test scores. And I want them in my district. In school. I'll admit that did they have lunch when you had to go out and hunt it? Sorry. You could hit me.
That's it.
And then I asked my group how many people had ever used food stamps. And I'm going to raise my hand again, 2 different times in my life that I have been on food stamps. And I actually had the stamps, not the card that they now have. So wrap it up. So I'm going to pass this to Dorothy, because she thinks that...
Let me tell them what I meant.
I think this whole thing is a trick. Because, first of all, when you read the first sentence, it makes no sense. If there are just several elementary school-age children moving to the district, why would you build a new school? Why would you even build a new school for a housing development? I mean, how much money do these people have to waste? But in addition to that, when you read the last sentence, you can interpret that 2 ways. You could either say that they were concerned about lowering the excellent rankings and culture of their own people who were already there, or you could say that they were worried about that with respect to the people who were coming in, that those students had been being so successful, they were concerned that they'd have difficulties adjusting to culture and things like that. It's very ambiguous, and I think it's intentionally ambiguous.
Yes, it is. That's correct. Very good. Thank you. Hand for the group. Yes, nice job. Nice job. Yes, it is meant to be ambiguous because that's just part of the case study. All right. So they likely have not engaged in many students or families whose populations have based on decisions on common media or handouts. So, okay, so who is the volunteer for the illustrious group 3? Don't all raise your hands at once. Okay, very good. Thank you for volunteering.
So our question was, what can the committee do to check the accuracy and validity? We wanted to compare the test scores from the district, the inner city district, to the district that they would be moving to, because we want to be able to compare that data. Because like group 2 mentioned, that's really good test scores, and if they think that that's going to lower their test scores, we need to know why. We also need to know why they think that it's important to know their free and reduced lunch, and we need to know why they think it's important to know what their ethnicity is.
Okay, so you can talk to the administrators from previous district to get data regarding test scores. As mentioned, consult with their districts that recently navigated some changing demographics into their schools. Some other thoughts. So, volunteer for group 4. A volunteer, very good. You're not a volunteer, okay. So she's in.
Okay, so the answer that I wrote down to the question is that some alternative ways to look at the situation are that the new students could actually enrich or improve the school, and the actions I would advise the committee to take are to at least give serious consideration and debate and research to the proposal instead of coming to a hasty conclusion. But the reason why I was volunteered is because I shared that I don't believe this is a good example of unconscious bias. The test that you showed us the video of, however flawed it was showing unconscious bias, stuff that you don't have time to think about, that you just react to automatically. That's not what's going on here, and I don't believe at all for a single second that these people don't realize that they're being racist in classes by excluding a group of people coming in because they aren't white and middle class. I don't think this is unconscious bias. I think it's perfectly conscious bias. And that is why I am our volunteer.
All right. So after gathering more data, they should definitely have more meetings. It's a potential option. Focus groups with current families could be another option. Following advice and school experts for multicultural school communities. Inviting students and parents to start the event in the future school to become acclimated to their environment. So, much in any group, appreciate the opinions and insights because every group is always different. That's the beauty of this. Yes, sir.
I actually think the most wonderful example of this being an outstanding tool for detecting bias is that you all seem to have made the decision that these students aren't white. Nowhere in that description did it give the ethnicity of the 2 students being involved in the district. You all automatically assumed they were.
68% of the students are minorities.
Yeah, but these 2 students?
Not 2 students.
You're having 2 students come into the district?
No, there's several.
Yeah, but where is it that it explicitly says these students are minorities? It doesn't anywhere. You just made the assumption.
Thank you very much. I knew there was an angel somewhere in the crowd, so thank you so much for that. Okay, all right. So I promise you, I would leave you. I've tried my best. Haven't always succeeded, but I've tried my best to try to give you some different methods. Okay. Here are some tips as you think about ways to look about this particular topic as you leave today's room. Pause. Pay attention. Acknowledge. Understand. Search. And I think the S is really the big takeaway. The U and the S are probably where the biggest allergies are, and then once you do that, be able to execute your plan. Okay? So I know I'm going to go through this very quickly. Actually, this is the last slide because I know I'm up against the clock. As far as increasing those behaviors, check your assumptions. That was very well said at the very end because, yes, there were assumptions. There were absolute assumptions, and yes, it was ambiguous to see if those assumptions came out. So yes, that was a red line under all this. Increase mentoring and coaching, which on college campuses today, you guys know better than me. Mentoring in my generation was a nice to have. Today it's pretty much a must. Recognizing people's different capabilities, that's imperative. It's if you have a team of everyone who looks like you, in today's world, good luck with that. That's all I got to say. You need to make sure you have diverse patterns of thinking, without a doubt. And then, I'll just go ahead and skip down to, number 6. I do thank you for your attendance today. Thank you for your feedback. I thank you for your participation. Because if this was quiet the entire time, like I said from the very beginning, it's a miserable failure. But at least, hey, there's no right or wrong answers. The whole purpose of this is to have a different methodology. What are you going to do differently when you walk out today? And then last but not least, I think getting regular feedback from your colleagues, etc., of what are you doing differently? What have we done differently in our team? You know, hopefully something came out of today, whether it's utilization of the will, the case, more than happy to share the videos, etc. So that is it in a nutshell. Any final thoughts or questions? I'm quiet all of a sudden. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time, attention, and for being here today.
Before you go, thank you again for being here.